I'm Sean White, and today we're meditating on why prescription drugs are so expensive. In 2019, it was reported that in the United States, we spent on average $1,200 per person on prescription drugs. 2/3 of the population take one or more prescription drugs, and on average, they take 4 different medications. This is why the global pharmaceutical industry was worth roughly $1.5 trillion in 2022, a number I would imagine that will only go up. And that is why I want to talk about the high cost of prescription drugs. So let's get started. Currently, 8 out of 10 adults feel that the cost of prescribed medications are unreasonable. There's always a lot of talk about trying to lower the cost of drugs, especially during election years. Part of the Inflation Reduction Act, which was passed in 2022, dealt with the lowering of prescription drug costs. So it is something that is being worked towards, right? So how did the cost of drugs get so high to begin with? Well, let's start by looking at how drug prices are set. Now, the manufacturer set the initial launch price, and then a pharmacy benefit manager negotiates discounts and rebates, which they provide to pharmacies, doctors, and hospitals. Now, that's the basic gist of it, although there is a lot more if you dive deeper into it. So they negotiate these discounts and rebates. However, these discounts don't always get passed on to patients, nor are they always revealed. So the actual price of the drug isn't always known. So how does the manufacturer come up with the initial launch price? Well, in the United States, there haven't been regulations that govern drug prices like there have been in other countries, and therefore pharmaceutical companies have been allowed to price drugs at whatever the market will bear, right? Manufacturers have cited inflation and supply chain issues as causes of recent price increases. And, if there is a need for the drug and the demand is there, the price can be set quite high. More recently, there has been quite a bit of political pressure, which has been helpful in lowering the price of some drugs, while other drugs can still remain high. Like I'll mention Ozempic, because it is a big topic these days, right? Ozempic can run you about $900 a month without insurance, and with the high demand for it, there is no real incentive to lower those costs. Now, you would also need a prescription for it, and while its initial use as a type 2 diabetes medicine may be covered by your insurance, if you're trying to use it for weight loss, it won't be covered. Most insurance plans do not cover weight loss medications. This means it could be a big out-of-pocket expense. Now, it's actually funny, the drugs that are covered by insurance and the ones that aren't. I've found that usually Viagra is covered, so now you know who's making the rules on this, right? Weight loss, no. Erections, yes. So that's going to take us to our next point, stiff market competition. If a drug manufacturer has a monopoly on a particular drug, they can charge a lot more because there is no alternative. If you can get a generic, it's usually significantly cheaper. A competitive marketplace always favors the consumer. And while there may be quite a few pharmaceutical companies out there right now, they don't all produce the same drugs. So there's not always that competition, right? Also, there's a patent protection period which allows the brand drug time to recover the cost of discovering and developing the drug, at which time they may set the price quite high. Now, when and if a generic comes out, they may be forced into lowering that price to stay competitive, but in the beginning they don't have to. Right? Companies can spend anywhere between $1 and $3 billion on average to bring a single new product to market. Now, that's a lot of money to lay out. And there's the potential that a new product might not make it to market, which means it's a lot of upfront costs, possibly for nothing. And that's quite a chunk of change that a company would need to recoup. So it would make sense that prices might be a bit high, especially for medications that might be more specialized and don't have a lot of buyers in the market. However, there have been published papers lately whose findings state that drug companies don't necessarily price drugs based on the research and development costs or how good the drug is. Once again, we're back to what will the market bear, right? Now, of course, we all know that these companies are for profit, and besides the R&D costs, there are all the other additional costs that go into running a business. Labor costs, overhead costs, marketing costs. And I imagine marketing costs would just be ridiculous. I mean, just watch the Game Show Network for an hour and count how many pharmaceutical ads you'll see, right? There's also packaging and distribution. And of course, let's not forget about the cost involved with lobbying. Right? The pharmaceutical industry spends over $230 million on average a year in lobbying, as well as millions and millions more in political campaign contributions. Now, these contributions are largely to ensure that legislation regarding U.S. health policies go their way, or candidates who will be more favorable to them will get elected. Right? I mentioned the Inflation Reduction Act. Part of how it works to lower prescription drug costs is by giving Medicare the ability to negotiate drug prices. It was never able to do so previously. These negotiations are expected to save the government, because Medicare and Medicaid are run by the U.S. government, right? These negotiations will save the government almost $100 billion by 2031. This is why the pharmaceutical lobby spent close to $19 million to try to stop the reform, right? Because that is $100 billion, which doesn't really come out of their pocket. It just never really goes into their pockets. So these are just some of the reasons why prescription drug costs can be so high. So how can we save money and lower our own costs? Well, you've probably seen ads for things like GoodRx or SingleCare as options for finding discounts and coupons for prescription drugs. Right? Costco even has their own Costco member prescription programs. There are options out there. Right? Now, while this may lower the cost for you, it does not actually lower the cost of the drug itself. These discounts that are negotiated by the pharmacy benefits managers that we mentioned earlier, usually the pharmacy ends up absorbing the costs, which is fine for large retail chain pharmacies like Walmart or Walgreens, but for small mom and pop type pharmacies, they can lose out on quite a bit of money. Right? Walmart will still make additional non-pharmaceutical sales and recoup those losses easily. Keep this in mind. While it's great to save money, you don't really want to put help cause a small business to go out of business, right? So you can also look online to comparison shop, or you can buy in bulk if that's an option. In some cases, it could be worth it to reach out to the pharmaceutical company itself and see what kind of discounts they are willing to provide. They want you taking their drug and not a competitor, so quite often they are willing to work with you if you're having problems affording it. Also, if you're on multiple medications, especially if you're taking 5 or more different drugs, talk to your doctor about them. There may be instances where you're taking medications that are doing the same thing, or even medications that are working against one another. This usually happens if you're prescribed multiple medications from multiple doctors. Now, if you can eliminate unneeded medications, that may not only be a little financial relief, but could potentially prevent unwanted side effects or possible drug interactions, which can be much more serious. Now, the easiest way to save money on prescription drugs is to never go on them in the first place, right? There are some illnesses where medications or surgeries are the only options, but there are many chronic illnesses that can be avoided by making lifestyle changes. In many cases, type 2 diabetes can be treated through diet. Obesity can be linked to a lot of illnesses that may require medications to manage them, and these illnesses can possibly be avoided by maintaining a healthy body weight. Certain cancers have been linked to particular lifestyles, right? Investing in your health now can mean not investing in treatments and drugs later. This is something I mention anytime somebody tells me eating healthy is expensive. You're going to pay at some point, right? I think it makes more sense to pay early for a better quality of life later. Now, I hope you found this video informative. I tried to provide a lot of information, but it's an incredibly complex and nuanced topic, right? There are loads of things I could have included. There's a whole timeline for the Inflation Reduction Act, and different parts go into effect at different times in different years, all the way through 2029. We could have discussed how insurance companies handle all this, but honestly, that makes my eyes glaze over and puts me to sleep. My wife works in the insurance industry, so we periodically have talks about things like this, and this is why I know that to be true. Now, while I've given you some reasons, there is no simple answer to the question of why prescription drugs are so expensive. So use this video as a starting point if you're interested in learning more. Now, if you like this video, then click the like button and share it with your family and your friends. If you don't like this video, don't click the like button and share it with people you don't like. If you want to hear more of what I got to say, then subscribe and turn on notifications and find out when new videos are coming out. And leave me some comments down below. What do you think about the cost of prescription drugs? Is this something that's impacting you? let me know. So until we speak again, be well, be safe, and be kind to everybody.